Hello, everybody. You already know what time it is. It's time for the Purpose Conversation. I am Juva Threat Alexander, the host of this oh so amazing live podcast. And I am so excited to be here with you this evening. I want to go ahead and welcome all of my Facebook friends, all of my purpose friends. Come on in, come on in, come on into the room. And if you are watching on YouTube, guys, for some reason, I could not see the YouTube link. So if you are watching me on YouTube, I'd like for you to say, hey, Juva, just put it in the chats just so that I can check it out and see and know that it is actually doing what it's supposed to do. So I hope everybody has had an absolutely wonderful past couple of weeks. I haven't seen you guys since the end of Women's History Month, and it was an absolutely amazing month. And so for the past couple of weeks, I had a little bit of downtime. You know, not bad for spring. Spring has sprung, and so it gives me the opportunity to just kind of reset just a little bit. But I do have a couple of amazing shows tonight and on the 30th of this month. So, as I said, welcome, 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 welcome. Now, I know you guys have seen the promos. Y'all know how I do. I love to just kind of share amazing people and put it out here, the things that they're doing. And I always say, it's one thing to talk purpose. It is an absolutely another thing to show you what purpose looks like. And tonight, I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to show you guys what purpose looks like through my oh so amazing guest. If you see me looking down, that's because I'm trying to take a look here at my some of my devices, and normally I have it turned off, but I want to make sure that my guest tonight, that she actually has the link. And so y'all just bear with me just a second and come on in, invite some people in, because we are going to talk purpose tonight. We are going to we're going to have this special amazing guest. And anyway, I am excited. Let's see if she is available. Well, I know she's available. She's actually in the backstage and she'll be joining us here soon. But I want to make sure that I show some love to her page and share the link. So, Stacey, if you're able to hear me, if you saw a Facebook notification where I pop you on, then yeah, we are now go ahead and connect there on that device if you want to. But I do see some people coming into the room, and I want to just say hello. And ha 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 ha, it looks like YouTube is up, guys, because I do see it. Hey there, Kelly Sweet. Thank you so much for checking in and letting me know that the YouTube is up and live. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You will enjoy tonight's show. Hey there, Jerry Tatum Jr., also one of my fabulous, fabulous author friends. So good to see you in the building tonight. Speaking of tonight, I have an absolutely amazing guest. And if you've seen the promos, then you know that it is somebody that is dealing with education and so much more. I cannot wait for you guys to meet her. And, if you would excuse me just a little bit, I'm going to put on my little spectacles here. And I want to just kind of share her bio. My guest tonight is Miss Stacey Owens-Howard. She was born in Germantown, Pennsylvania. Her family relocated to Jacksonville, North Carolina, which is where I know her from. And it is where she's resided for over 25 years. Stacey is an award-winning educator, trainer, and entrepreneur, multi-entrepreneur, I might add. Her educational career began in 94 as a third grade teacher in Jones County schools. And during her tenure, she became a national board certified teacher, obtained Teacher of the Year in 1998, and in 2000, state level finalist for presidential award for elementary teaching in math and science. In 2009, she began to walk in her destiny of completing God's purpose, yes, by helping at risk children. She founded Zeka Inc. 0 to 18 Education Concept Academy. It's a community initiative designed to provide comprehensive services to children from the ages of birth to 18. In August of 2013, under her leadership, it opened Zeka School of Arts and Technology. Y'all, she opened up a whole school. And it is a K through 8 charter school that provides an additional school choice for families in Onslow County. She is also the founder and CEO of Creating Z and Georgetown High, a village minded academy. Oh my gosh. Her alma mater is North Carolina Central University, yes. And she's also obtained her postgraduate certificate in leadership and accountability and a postgraduate certificate in curriculum and instruction from Capella. She is a current doctoral student at North Carolina Central, writing her dissertation on student teacher relationships. So, oh my gosh, let me tell you, she has been super busy. Not only that, she is an author of multiple books, and we'll dive into it. And she is absolutely phenomenal. Now, before I bring her in, I just want to show you guys a little something.
I once heard a story about God pushing people off mountaintops, buildings and Eiffel skyscrapers high, pushing people so they can fly. Oh, push me, God, push the people high. Let them know they're not afraid of heights. Oh, God, push your people high. Let them know they're not afraid to fly. Oh, push me, God.
And there we have it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you would, you know how we do. I want you to give a round of applause and a drum roll, please, as we bring in the oh so amazing Miss Stacey Owens-Howard in 3, 2, 1. Let's see, Stacey. Stacey, are you able to hear me? Because I am not able to hear you, sis. Y'all bear with us just a second. Where is Stacey? Stacey, if you're able to hear me, I'm unable to hear you. We're unable to see you, sis. So if you can, if you have accidentally been bumped out, technology is technology sometimes. Just come on back in and we will dig into all of Stacey. In the meantime, guys, y'all just bear with us. I promise it's going to be good. And if you're catching us on repeat, just hang tight. We got this. And it looks like she is back in. Stacey, I'm bringing you back on now.
Okay.
Well, hello, 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 Stacey.
Hello, Miss Juva. Sorry about that. Technology, they just don't want this story to get out there, but the enemy might as well go ahead on and flee because we're going to talk about some purpose tonight.
Girl, who you telling? Oh my gosh. But you know what, Stacey? That seems to always be the case whenever you are giving birth to something. Whether
Yes,
it is giving birth and you're having the opportunity to share, especially when you're telling your story and you're
yes,
talking purpose, honey, I already know the enemy, he don't like this. So he's always
yes,
trying to throw some little stuff my way. But you know what? He is a lie, and I give absolutely no room to him. So
yes.
let's just push through. Oh my gosh, you have been such a very busy lady. For those who do not know you, please tell us, who is Stacey Owens-Howard?
I'm just a little old girl from the hood who is doing something that God told me to do. I'm just being an obedient servant to his will. So, when I was listening to you read the bio, sometimes I amaze myself because I was tired just listening to it. I was like, Lord, I do all that.
You
But
do all that and then some, and then
exactly.
some.
But I don't even think about it like that because God gave me this vision and he told me to create the space that wasn't in existence for when my son was in need of it. And that's how this whole journey began, just having an issue that or a problem that you had the solution, you being that I had the solution to and I didn't even know. And I was searching for this solution everywhere else except from within. And then God was like, no, you're the answer to it. And he
Mm.
showed me how to do it. And so I'm just a nobody trying to tell somebody.
Oh,
So,
honey. Well, he has turned that nobody into definitely somebody because you said yes. Um, since we are talking purpose, I have two immediate questions.
okay.
Number one, when you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up? And number two, what does purpose mean to you?
Okay. So when I was a little girl, that's interesting because I think, the one thing I want someone out there to hear that may need to benefit from this is that every day in life you should be evolving. Every day you should be, growing and learning. And when you learn new experiences, that should impact you in a way that it may even take you and change you and elevate you to different levels. So when I was, a little girl, I knew in the fifth grade that I wanted to be a school teacher, and that was because of a experience that I had gained from my fifth grade school teacher, right? And
Mhm.
the things that she did for me at that time, because I was one of those kids who, when I was in school, I didn't have everything. My mother was a hard worker. She did everything to the best of her ability, but we didn't have a car to be transported places and so forth. So when I needed extra help, it was that teacher who was like, hey, if you let her stay after school, I'll take her home. She just showed a lot of empathy and caring and concerning for me. And in that moment, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to do that to someone. So maybe I should look at this teaching world. And then as I got a little older, I've always been one who enjoyed fashion. Like, I
Mm.
just really enjoy sparkly clothes, just everything fashion. That was me when I was coming up. And so there was a moment in my life that I actually wanted to be a fashion designer or interior designer. And when I got to this place of going to college or deciding about going to college, well, at first I didn't even know I wanted to go to college. I have to give credit. I don't even think Sharice know this. You know Sharice Holloman from back in school when we went to high school together.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't even think Sharice has heard this story, but it was being friends with Sharice and being around her that inspired me to want to go off to college because I was one of the first in my family to go to college. So I didn't have a model to say, that you should graduate from high school and you should go to college or you should do this. And it wasn't until I became really good friends with Sharice and I hung around her family and went different places with her that I learned the process of, okay, this is what I have to do to go to college. So when I got to that space of deciding, all right, now I'm about to be 18, 17, 18, I'm about to go off, I need to decide. my mother was like, "Girl, you don't know any black designers. You tell me one black designer that's out
Wow.
there, then perhaps we can do that." And she was like, "So you need to go and you know, do something that is going to allow you to make some money, like be a teacher, be in the health field, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be
Hmm.
something like that." And it's nothing wrong with allowing our families to influence us. I think at my later life, like now in this time when you talk about purpose, I think what I learned from that moment is you should always be in control of your dream. So even though at that time there were not many black designers that were available or that we knew about. I'm sure it was some that existed. And I'm not going to tell my age, but I'm sure it was some that was in existence, but they just wasn't in my circle of influence and or in my mother's circle of influence. So she did the right thing by saying, maybe you should go and do this because, this is what's going to elevate you to another level. But in being control with your destiny and your dream, even if it wasn't any black designers, then if that's what I wanted to do, that's what I could have continued to do. So now I think I'm at a place now where I don't allow others to influence you because of what's not in existence. Don't be fearful of jumping out there, even if you're the first, even if you're the one making that trail. Go ahead on and do it. So that's pretty much now what purpose means to me.
Yes. What does purpose mean to you?
Purpose is just doing that thing that's within you that you're destined to do, right?
Hmm.
And I think everybody say you should walk in your purpose, you walk on your purpose, and people be confused about, well, how do you know? How do you know is because you are listening to yourself and you're fulfilling yourself and you're making a difference not only for you but for others who are being able to see what you are doing. So we don't have to define purpose to one specific thing. It's just everybody is born with gifts and talents, and everybody is God is giving you something that you're supposed to do to contribute to hope and to contribute to mankind and so forth. So purpose is when you find that way of giving back to make the world around you better and making yourself better, then you'll know you're in your purpose. Because your purpose
I
don't always have to be your job. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
You could be doing something else. You could be a cashier at Walmart, and your purpose might be while you're standing there, you're ministering to somebody about something because you get to see
Absolutely.
their hurt pain coming through. So that's your purpose, is to be able to bring light to somebody. So I think people think purpose is always a thing that's gonna pay you back money or give you a job or give you something. Purpose don't have to be that.
Right. I fully agree because I know that purpose it isn't limited just to vocation. There's a purpose in the problem.
Yes.
There's a purpose of you on that 9 to 5 that pays you. And
Right.
I mean, I think about even back in the day when I was like, working in a call center, how I still had a purpose. I had a purpose to reach certain people, you
Mhm.
know? So yeah, I totally agree. I find it interesting that you wanted to be a teacher though. And as many times as I ask that question, it is often that thing that when they were little, somehow it incorporated into what it is that they're doing or involved in some capacity as an adult. So yeah, you are one of many that yeah, you're doing that particular thing. It's in that lane, and I have a heart for teachers, for educators. Period. I can tell you about two teachers. That's the thing about teachers and educators. When you have a really good one, you remember them.
Mhm.
And when you have a not so good one, you remember them too.
Exactly.
I can tell you two. One is, as a matter of fact, both of them are Miss Jones. Miss Jones, my sixth grade teacher. I remember her because we both were from, now I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and she called me her little homegirl at the time I was living in Maryland.
Mhm.
So Miss Connie Jones, shout out to her. And but she was an absolutely just a beautiful person, and she was almost like a mother figure,
Mhm.
and she stayed on you. And then also, no, the other teacher is Mrs. Johnson. Mrs. Johnson was my middle daughter's third grade teacher. I remember that woman because she is now, here it is. I have 5 children, but she really showed me what it was like to have a partnership, that parent and that teacher partnership, to really make a difference in your child's life. And so it's never been the same since. I've had lots and lots of teachers that I've had to deal with, having 5 kids and all, but I've never had that same bond as I did with Miss Johnson, because she was just on it.
Yeah.
So hats off to you. You started a whole freaking school. Okay. I know that all of this is part of your purpose. Let's talk about, tell us your story. How did you start this school? Now, I know because I've had sneak peeks and looked at and all up in your books and in your business.
Mm-hmm.
But how did this come about, Stacey? Because the average educator, the average teacher, the average Joe Blow doesn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to start a charter school. What
And I
happened?
didn't either. I did not wake up and say, I'm going to start a school. In fact, I was a teacher, and I was a really good teacher. I was a national board certified teacher. I was teaching down in Jones County, a little rural area, and I was doing some amazing things with teachers, winning all kind of awards for students, and I was winning all kinds of awards while I was teaching. And but at home, every night I had to come home to my personal kids, and my son was in the district next to us, and he just was struggling, and he was struggling really bad in school, in terms of every mother should say my child is a genius, right? But he was so different and so special when he was born. At a very early age, you could tell when he was 2 that he had a command of his vocabulary. He was very into the arts and into music and so forth. And so if a school had existed in this area that could have capitalized on the way that he learned and could have capitalized on his inquisitiveness, then he would have been a great student. But in turn, what happened was, because a lot of the experience for him was, here's what society says normal should look like, and he didn't fit that definition. He was hearing music in his head, and he was just doing those kind of things, and they wanted him to just sit still, and he couldn't sit still. And it wasn't that it was a bad thing, it just wasn't the thing that was aligned to what schools define as normal classroom behavior. And so what they did is they took his genius and labeled it as ADHD, ODD, and IED, intermittent explosive disorder. And so once they started on that, by the time you took a kid from kindergarten, by the time he got to about the 2nd grade, he did not like school, and school was such a challenge for him. And so every day, I was going to work, doing these hands-on lessons, incorporating the arts, incorporating music, taking each child for their unique self, and just making them grow. And then I would come home and have to hear and see and have meetings with colleagues, say, what my immediate colleagues, because I worked in a different district, but they were colleagues nonetheless, because we were trained in the same field and capacity of how to correspond and talk to parents and so forth. And they did not treat me as if I was a equal or colleague to them. So I'm like, if I know if this is what you're doing to me, and I have the same training you have, I know what you're doing to him. And so we made it through. He made it all through middle school, high school, and he was the type who could lay his head down, do nothing, and then at the end take that state test and score 4s and 5s on it, and they would have to see him on. And so, but it was frustrating, right? It was frustrating.
Yes,
like, how can I watch these great things that's happening in the classrooms that I'm in, and then coming home having to suffer as a parent? And so one night I had a dream, just a short and quick. I had a dream, and God showed me a vision. It came on 5 different pillars. It was all written out in detail about creating this school or this place that would be for the type of, child that he was. And I woke up from that dream, and I called my mother like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and she told me, she was like, take out some paper and pencil and write it down. And I thought she was crazy. I was like, but okay, I'll write it down. And I did. And then I put it in the top of my closet, and then I didn't tell anybody. So for 5 years, only my mother and I knew about this dream. And I went on working for the state in low performance schools. And then I went back to working for Smart Start. And at the time, now this is a part of this that I want people to hear. Okay, so I started out as a teacher, then I worked for the state and low performance schools during this time while this dream was up in my closet. And then I
Yeah.
went and I started working for Smart Start. And people thought I was crazy because they was like, you gonna come out of education and go into the nonprofit world and do Smart Start and work with birth to
Mm.
five? Didn't make sense, but I was like, yeah, I'm I'm a retired superintendent who I had a great working relationship when I was in the school system. Called me and she said, just come out and do it for a few years with me, and so I did. This is gonna wrap around and make sense for you, and it's gonna bless somebody. Okay,
Mm.
and so I did. I went out and I did that for a while, and when I was working at Smart Start, they was kicking 3-year-old kids out of daycare centers for behavior. So what was going on with my
Mm.
son revolved back around, but at an earlier age. And I was like, why are all these black boys getting kicked out of preschool at 3? Like they're 3.
Yes.
Like they're 3. You can't
Right.
control the behavior of a 3-year-old. So I started going in doing trainings for childcare centers, and I brought this young lady in from the regional. She was a behavior specialist from the regional level, and she and I was doing some trainings together, and we were sitting at lunch. And while we were sitting at lunch, we were just talking about our discuss about why is it when it comes to our black and brown children, why they have such spaces of struggle in places of education in those systems. And that's a whole nother story about how the educational system isn't really designed for certain groups of people. But we were having that conversation, and she was like, you know what? You've already been given the answer to what to do. And she started talking to me like she knew about that dream in the closet. And I thought,
Wow.
she don't even know. Like, you don't, what do you mean? You already been told what to do. And it was like I wasn't even having a conversation with her. And so I told her, I said, well, I do have this dream that I had, and I wrote it down in my closet. And she was like, well, why is it in the closet? Why don't we get it out and bring it to life? And we started right then. She was like, let's name it. Since this started behind, your son Zakari, she said, let's name it. And that's how we came up with Zeka. We took the first 3 or 4 letters of his name, and we turned it to Zeka. And she was like, now let's call it something. And that's how we came up with 0 to 18 Education Concepts Academy. Now, I did not have no clue about how to start a nonprofit, although I was working in a nonprofit at the time. And I
Mm-hmm.
bought a $29.99 book from Books a Million on how to open a nonprofit, and it went from there. And I sent the letters out. 7 people responded, 7 being the number of completion, that said, hey, I'll go on this journey with you. And that was
Yes.
the beginning of me saying yes to being obedient with God. And that young lady I talked to on that day, I haven't seen her since. So she was just an angel placed in my life to take that dream out the closet. And everything that I needed on the journey of becoming an entrepreneur, of running a school, happened when I left and started working in the nonprofit world, when I was in the classroom as a teacher, and when I was as a working in those low performing schools. So God will take you through things through your life to prepare you for the place that he wants you to be later. And it won't make sense while you're going through it. But when you get to the end, and I'm not even to my end, it's forever evolving. You're never going to get to the
Yes.
end. But when you be intentional, you can look back over your journey and you can start saying, oh, I went through that for this, or I went through that for this. But no, I was a happy little teacher. I could have stayed in my 3rd grade class. It certainly was a lot easier than some of the lessons I've learned. But when you say yes and be obedient, this is where you end.
That's right. And you know what? That is just so amazing. And you are absolutely right, because when we say yes, or we're given that dream, and we're given that idea, we're given that something, that seed that's kind of planted on the inside of us. And when we decide to go ahead and to pursue that thing, you are correct. Sometimes you will find yourself in different positions or different situations, and you don't understand. It's not making sense to you in the natural, but it's all to, for your benefit, and it's building you up and showing you some things and
Mm-hmm.
giving you the experience that you ultimately need.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I've read your books, and so I kind of knew, of course, I knew how this kind of all started. So I appreciate you just sharing that, and not only that, giving us some nuggets. And I really appreciate that about you. If we could, because you didn't just write a book, you've written several books. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to put them up here on the screen, and you are an absolutely amazing writer. I can tell you that you're an amazing
Thank
author,
you.
period. And I appreciate you because I have the opportunity to edit some of your books. So we're going to bring those here in the stream really quick. Can you see them there, Stacey?
Yes, I see them.
Okay, your very first book was Ground Zero to Building an Empire, a founder's journey to opening a charter school. And let's talk about that one real quick.
Yes. This was another thing. I didn't wake up and say, you know what, I want to be an author.
Right.
As you start evolving and growing to different levels and you have different experiences, different successes, different failures, you have to find a way to keep yourself balanced, right? So that you can continue to do the things. So the book writing sort of became part of my journey to balance because I was learning so many lessons and I was getting so full that I didn't have a way to balance out, when I became empty. So I use my books as like a form of journal. That's why you'll see that they're never beyond 100 pages because they're not designed to be big, thick, dissertations. They're designed just to empty out what I've learned in this period of my life so that I can be able to fill up for the next one and then learn from that and keep that process going. So when you look at Ground Zero, that book tells that initial story of why I opened the school.
Mm.
You'll hear more about Zakari's story in that. And that pretty much gives the why, that foundational, hey, I didn't never knew I would be an entrepreneur at this level. I never knew I was going to open a school. I didn't even know how to open a school. I just kind of just did it, and so that first book tells the story of my why. And then I had some hard lessons the first 3 to 5 years. And so the
Mm-hmm.
second book is your business called School Hurting Your School because I was a trained public education teacher and I worked in the public education system. And in that world, they don't really teach you about the system of school. They just teach you
Mm-hmm.
that you come and you teach and students learn, but they don't teach you that it's a business aspect of it. And so that's
Right.
why you have classroom teachers, and you'll hear people talk about classroom teachers shouldn't spend their money on this or they shouldn't have to spend all their money on that. But if you get the bigger capacity of school as a business and butts and seats matter because that's how you get paid, and the budgets and all of that, and then the systems that are wrapped up in schools, you don't really learn that as a teacher. And so when I first went into opening the charter school, I went in with my teacher glasses on and I
Uh-huh.
struggled. I
Mm.
failed horribly because I had on a teacher lens trying to run a business called school. And that's not a
Yes.
slight to teaching. It's just that that's what you're trained for. And so I had to learn, if I keep operating like this, the school won't make it. We're going to have to close. So the second book sort of says, here's the first 21 lessons that I learned as I was coming off of taking my teacher lens off and replacing it with an entrepreneurial business administrative lens, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's when I learned that this thing called school really is a business, if not more than anything else. And then I started going down the paths, and I my school attract kids who need help. They're at risk. They need help with their emotions. Social and emotional became a big buzzword for us. Like, how do we balance these traumas? How do we balance teaching kids today about balancing their emotions and getting along with others? See, because Juva, when we were little, we used to go
Yeah.
outside and play kickball.
That's right.
In that moment when we went outside and played kickball, we made up our rules and we
Mm-hmm.
followed our rules. And we knew the rules of the streets. You come in before it get dark, all that kind of stuff. We knew how to interact with each other. We knew that if we were playing together and you got on my nerve for that moment, we knew to go ahead on and separate for the rest of that day. We didn't have to fight about it. We just knew it was done for
Yep.
that day. We'll play with the next group. We socially knew how to be in control of our emotions, and we knew how to interact with others by being in control with playing these sports. Kids don't really do that today.
Right.
Today they're alone a lot in front of the TV playing their
Mm-hmm.
games, and they're in the matrix. And because they spend a lot of time in the matrix, we've lost a generation of people who know how to interact, with each other and have a high emotional intelligence. And so what I learned was that that's true for students and teachers.
That's
So
right.
people started saying, we need to look at the mental health and the mental well-being of students, and we were putting a lot of time in that, but nobody was saying we need to look at it for teachers. It was actually taboo to even talk about mental health and teachers in the same word, because
Oh,
a lot of people in certain populations, they equate mental health to something bad, like you're crazy or you're bad or something wrong if you are trying to maintain a healthy mental health, and that in fact is not true. And so the world wasn't really talking pre-COVID about teacher mental health, and I was getting my
right.
butt kicked over there experiencing that in the classroom. So I mean, as an administrator of a school,
Yeah.
so what I did is, that's when honey, you can't make this stuff up. Those are my lessons that I was learning about the mental health of teachers, and stop having that trained thought process of people leaving themselves at the door. My teachers are coming in that building and they're bringing 100% of themselves with them. They're good and they're bad and they're ugly, and you better know how to deal with it. So that was,
Yes.
the honey, you can't make this stuff up, was like the premise of learning how mental health of the teacher can impact the classroom. And that rolled me into creating safe spaces, because now that I was there, I had to figure out, well, what are we going to do about this so that we're also, doing the wellness that we need to do as leaders, for making sure the spaces that our staff work in is conducive to creating a healthier mental health for teaching or an adults, because that book can be used for any corporate world. And that's how we came into creating safe spaces. And then teaching with heart, the Zeka way, that's the emotional intelligence, or that's the one that's going to tell you how we did it for students. So
Okay.
my books are journals.
You're what, and I can, and as a writer, I understand how writing is, first of all, it's therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to be able to just kind of take your journals and turn them into a book. And guys, let me tell you something. Okay, so we have a series of books, and we're saying, okay, it's talking about Stacey's story, starting the school, and different things about the school and the teachers and how to run the business. And uh, let me tell you, these books are for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I, especially this, honey, I could make this stuff up. Honestly, I could find myself in that book. And I,
Mm-hmm.
I am not an educator. I am not in the classroom. The only young people that I'm in front of all the time are, my own, and maybe some of their friends. But
Mm-hmm.
your books, they hit right where you need it. And you did something that I wish, oh my gosh, I wish that every school system had something like this in place. But I remember you having I don't know if it was a teacher's workshop or a retreat or something, but I remember seeing different information, or maybe you and I were chatting about it. I don't know, but all I know is like, oh my gosh. And maybe I saw you on live, but I was like, I want to be a part of something like that. But this was for the teachers and the educators, but it was all about, it was like a retreat. You know how
It was.
pre-show I
It
said,
was.
I need a break, I
Yeah.
need to get something poured in, but it was,
It
I never,
was.
let's
Mhm.
talk about that retreat.
It
And
was.
do
So
you
so
think
it's
it's something that you can bring to, I don't know, other people need what it was that your
right.
educators received? Let's talk
Right.
about that real quick.
Okay, so you're right. The books are not just for educators. I mean, it's written from a teacher educational perspective, because that's the field that I'm in. But
Right.
you're right. I mean, those things that teachers was dealing with, and honey, you can't make this up. you're going to deal with that at any job, that you can
That's
possibly deal
right.
with that in any job you go through. And creating safe spaces, that's how I made our space, workspace, more conducive. But you can go to Walmart, any corporate field, and use that same model. But the conferences that you're talking about is, I usually do about 2 conferences a year. The first one is called the Heart Conference, How to Educate African American Students Regardless of Trauma. And we bring in a lot of experts that talk about, how to engage students, how to work with the social and emotional piece, how to decrease behaviors, how to break stereotypes, and that kind of stuff. So that's the Heart Conference. And that's open. I do it because I want to train my personal teaching staff, but I do open it up to other educators. And we had
Mm-hmm.
about 4 of those. And then I started doing the teacher wellness conference. So last year we had a wellness conference in South Carolina at Myrtle Beach. It was a 4-day conference. Teachers came in. We did sound meditation with them. They had a part of their day where they did yoga. We did wellness walks. And then they took courses. And the courses talked about self-care, self-help, because you're responsible for making yourself happy. You're responsible for yourself being balanced. But sometimes people don't have the tools for that, right? So we did some trauma informed instruction with teachers. We had some great presenters come in from the Detroit area, and they talked about how they were handling wellness in their school environment. And that again was for my staff, but we opened it up to a larger, anybody could attend. We're actually going to do another one. I'm looking at the end of June or the mid June to actually do our second wellness conference. But we haven't put the date out yet. But yes, we like to do conferences for our teachers to go away and just debrief, do some
Yes.
self-care type things, and then learn some things that you can take back and continue to do in the in-between time.
I tell you, I just thought that that was just so beautiful. And I was like, oh my gosh, this needs to go. This needs to go out. This is a conference I think you should probably have in every state, because I mean it
Yes.
was like it was absolutely amazing. So I pray that this is that you're able to expand in that particular area. I don't know what God is telling you about that, but it would be really really good. I do have a question about the latest book that you have, um, the um, the Teaching with Heart, the Zeka Way. Now that one is soon to be published,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. We're looking at April
Absolutely.
29th.
Now, I love all of your books, but if I were to say, if I had one that was like, it would be that one. And of course, like I said, I get a sneak peek. So I cannot wait for that release. Where can we find your publications?
So you can find all my books on Amazon, or you can, if you want signed copies, you can purchase them from creatingz.com. And those copies, I'll send out signed copies, or you can get them from Amazon. But yes, I think Teaching with Heart and the Zeka Way, it's going to be a 2-part series actually. So Teaching with Heart, the Zeka Way talks about the social and emotional thing, and it's more like a workbook. So it's telling you how to teach kids emotional words, how to teach,
Hmm.
as a parent, as a teacher, as whatever.
Yes.
It's teaching you how to improve, how to confront people, how to, it's just telling you everything to increase your emotional intelligence. And then how you operate from a higher emotional intelligence, and how that helps you in different parts of your everyday life. And the second series to that, Teaching with Heart, is by Keeping It Real. It's going to be more designed for specific instructional ways for increasing the engagement of African American students. Yeah.
Awesome. You know what? I do see that we have a few of purpose friends. So let's just take a moment. I don't even know if I've had the opportunity to tell you to say hey to my purpose friends, girl.
Okay. Hey guys.
So we have Kelly, who's joining us on YouTube. That's my sister out there in California. Jerry Tatum. Jenny Jones down in Miami, Florida. She says, hello, beautiful. And she also says, when God calls, we better listen.
Right.
So, yeah, yeah. Effie Bogart, of course, that was that is an artist extraordinaire. He was a part of the Purpose Conversation when we did the pot and paint. And then, girl, Kendrick Rogers is in the building, and he
Hey,
says, "Look at my successful homegirls. Hey there."
Ken.
And my cousin Evelyn Johnson from Louisiana, she's stepping in to say hello. So I thank all of my purpose friends. We thank you for coming in and checking us out, and we also thankful for everybody that's watching on replay. Okay, you do what you do as an entrepreneur, an educator, running a school, being an administrator. What else are you up to, Stacey? Because you are multi-talented, and what else are you up to? What do you
So
got?
I would say my two big projects that I'm working on right now is Georgetown High, a Village Minded Academy, which is a trade high school that we are striving. I say we because I do have a co-founder with that we are trying to have open by August of 2023. And so it's our hopes. I think we had a period of time where everybody was saying, you need to go to college, you need to go to college, you need to go to a 4-year university. And everybody started going to a 4-year university. And now you see a lot of our people who have these 4-year degrees are coming back home, and they're struggling to find jobs in their
Mm,
field. And then, but on the flip side of that, if you need your HVAC system fixed, it's you're struggling to find somebody who can fix your HVAC system or your plumbing,
mhm.
because the people in that field that was owned by those family businesses, those parents are aging out, and a lot of their kids went off to college to become
Right.
doctors and lawyers and so forth, and they didn't really take over the family businesses or the family trade. And so, somewhere along the line, trade sort of got a stigma that they wasn't good enough. Now, I went to college on the back of a janitor, and he had his own janitorial services. So trades are something that are real promising, and we have a shortage of people who can actually operate and run trades. And
That's
now
right.
you got people who can go and become plumbers and make more money than people who have 4 years degree and have all that college debt. I look at my boyfriend who's a truck driver. He makes double what I make as a school administrator off of the trade of being running a trucking business. So trades are important. And so we had this vision of bringing it back to the high school level because we want to increase the level of interest of students, knowing that, you should go off to college and do something. If you go get a trade or if you go to your 4-year university, we're striving to hope that we can get you to want to do both. So go and get your degree in cosmetology or in plumbing, HVAC, or whatever. Go get your trade certificate in that. And if you want to go get your business degree at the university so you'll know how to run that business, do both. But you can get out of high school with a trade certificate and get a good job that can help do two things: help the economy and help you and your needs, as well as help fill a spot where we're having some lacks with trade. So Georgetown High Village Minded Academy is one of the biggest projects that I'm working on. And then the other project I would say that I'm working on is I don't like to say I'm a motivational speaker. I'm more of a trainer speaker. So I go out and
Yes.
train people, and I'm a personal and professional development coach. So I usually coach people in finding their purpose and how do you get through, doing what God is asking you to do as well.
Yes.
So in a couple of weeks, you're going to be able to find the Teaching with Heart the Zeka Way. You're going to be able to find that once it's published, you'll be able to take some video courses or some coachings, things around doing that or whatever else. So my life coaching and course and training is about to kick it up a notch as well.
Girl,
So
you
you
are
can
a
book me to
bad
come to
girl.
help you.
Oh my goodness, you are a bad girl. I tell you, you better walk in that purpose, honey.
Yes.
Absolutely all of it. And you know what? And just to say, I'm excited about the high school that you're starting. Um, as a real grown up with real bills, if you've ever experienced a plumbing problem or an HVAC problem, you know that those that field, those people are definitely in demand. And
Yes,
as much as my daggone invoice was, they apparently they are making a pretty penny.
they are.
So don't sleep on that. I think it's absolutely phenomenal that that you guys are starting a whole freaking high school. This is like just mind blowing. Okay, we all have, and I asked this of you on a live that you did because I try to check out your lives too. Because just as you're dropping nuggets here, you, honey, on your lives, you drop nuggets all night long. And I'm here for it all. I absolutely love it. But I asked you because I feel that just as you have a coach in every area kind of your life, whether it's somebody that knows that they're coaching you or knows that they're your mentor or not, because sometimes you can sit there and you can just kind of observe somebody, and you're just like I'm sitting up there, I'm observing you and I'm grabbing all those nuggets,
Mhm.
because you throw them out there. um who is it that inspires you? Who's your mentor?
Yeah, so I always say that everybody should have a coach, a therapist, and a best friend. And your best friend should be in your life to tell you when you need to go see one of the other two.
That's
Um,
right. That's right.
and so yeah, I've been blessed to have several different mentees. It's almost like, they're placed in or sent into my life right when I need them, and then
Hmm.
when I evolve beyond their seasons, the next one come.
Oh,
So um
good.
one that has been very consistent with me is I used to work, he used to be my principal when I was a teacher in Jones County, Mr. Walter Anderson. I call him my mentor because when I started going through the different stages of leadership, it's
Hmm.
not a time that I can't call him and say, hey, I'm dealing with this, or I'm in this space that I'm not too sure about, too comfortable about. And he sort of just, walk me through it, and not in the sense of giving me the answer or the solution, but just reminding me that I already know how to deal with it by the questions he
Mm,
asks. He just say enough, or ask the right questions to make me have a different thought or a different perspective about it. So I always say that he's one of my mentors. And then I have for different things, like when I first started speaking and going into the training world, my actual co-founder of the high school, his name is Life Dean, he sort of coached me through that. It's like just through tonality and some different speaking and things like that. So I've been blessed to have different people who have come into my life who I can learn from. You never
yes.
want to be the smartest person in the room, and you always want to be in the place where you're open to take constructive criticism
Yes.
from people who have constructed stuff, though. So you better listen to ET when he said
Yes.
never take constructive criticism from people who haven't constructed anything, because when you start moving up, you're going to hear a lot of noise. You're going to have a lot of people telling you your thoughts, their opinions, and they're coming from different lenses. So I'm not saying listen and allow yourself to be coached by everybody, but you should always find the person who is where you're trying to be. So all the people that have coached me, when I say the principal, and he was also a superintendent, those were places I was striving to go. He's already
Yeah.
been there, already experienced it. So that's how he was able to mentor me through it and able to see the places where I fail. And failure, I talk a lot more about my failures than I do my successes, because one, that's how I got to success, was by failing.
Mm,
You want to get to success, fail fast and fail often, and then learn from failure. I think a lot of times people fail
yes.
and then they get discouraged and then they stop. I don't stop when I fail. When I fail at something, I take it, I try to learn from it, I try to say what's the lesson that I'm supposed to get from it, and then I
Hmm.
take that so it can be propelled to the next level. And that's how you get to success. So all of my mentors, they wasn't on the same playing field with me, and they certainly wasn't beneath me doing stuff that I was had already done. They were at places where I'm always looking up. They were at places where I was trying to be. So I could listen to them. I could be inspired to hear what they were trying to teach me, even when I didn't understand it, even when I didn't agree with it. I just
Right.
don't ever be the smartest person in the room, and don't be, I let you. I use tank song, God pushed me, because everything that I've had to do, I've done it in a space where I wasn't sure if this was what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't really know how to do it, but it was like God just pushed me off that mountain, and I was just like, okay, let's see where it go. So
Yes.
just don't move around in fear, and don't do it alone.
Right.
I would say with your purpose.
I
I don't know if that
absolutely
answered
love
your
that.
question.
Huh?
I said I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, girl. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely awesome, and I definitely agree with having these different, having that daggone coach, definitely having a therapist, and having the bestie to tell you which one when you need to go see one or the other. I love
Mhm.
that, and I love the fact that you recognize that. Hey, sometimes your season with that mentor, sometimes you when you evolve, then God has a way of bringing another one in, and not and don't you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I absolutely love that. And my cousin Evelyn, she just says, I love her, Juba. I know she
Yes.
does. Awesome. Okay. So I guess we're getting ready to to wind down a little bit. Tell us, how do we connect with you? Whether it is a parent that wants to inquire about enrolling, because I know that you have an upcoming high school coming up,
Mhm.
or people want to contact you for daggone coaching. How do
Yeah.
we connect with you?
So if you are interested in enrolling your child in our K-8 charter school, you can go to www.zekaschoolofthearts.com, and in the parent portal is where you can enroll for this upcoming school year. Um, creatingz.com is where you can book me for any coaching or speaking engagements, or purchase any of my books. That's sort of like Creating Z is sort of like that umbrella that houses everything Zeka, or everything, whatever. Georgetown, we're doing interest sessions, interest meetings right now. So on my
Okay.
Facebook page, you can catch any of the dates for the interest meetings. Within the next couple of weeks, we'll have our website up. So if you want to start enrolling your upcoming high schoolers, we're going to start with ninth and 10th grade. You can do that too here in the Jacksonville area. But or you can find me on my Facebook, social media, anywhere. If you comment there, usually I follow up and direct you to how to get to me directly.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that I go back through and I'll put all of your information in the show notes. At the start of the our show here today, I ran a video that you sent to me. Let's give that person a shout out real quick. Who created that
Yes.
for you?
Yes, so my wonderful, gifted, beautifully talented daughter, Alexis K. Owens, is the one
Yes.
who put that video together. That's the wonderful thing about with my family. Everybody get to hear the Zakari story because because of his triumph needs or whatever. That's why I started the schools and so forth. And he's gifted in music, just graduated with music. But Alexis, being that sibling, is very talented herself. So she's in acting. She does media, put together commercials, and you can catch her if you go look at her social media on her. Alexis K. Owens is her IG tag. You can see all the wonderful things she's doing. So she's very gifted and talented. And I usually have to bug her to do my little videos and stuff like
That's
that.
what we do.
She does an awesome and amazing job as that. And she's a naturally born teacher. She'll tell me quick, I'm not gonna teach, Ma. I don't want to teach. But she's good at that as well. And she helps out at the school as well. So I think, this whole thing that God did, he knew what kids he gave me, he knew what
Hmm.
talents he put into me, and they all sort of kind of can intertwine together to make this thing and this legacy work. So I'm real, happy about that. Yeah, so y'all go
Awesome.
check her out, like her tags on her Instagram and so forth.
That's right. Well, this has been absolutely amazing. Any parting words of purpose or encouragement or any shout outs or both?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I would like to say to the viewers, as you are walking in this journey of trying to determine what your purpose is, it's going to be some peaks and some valleys. Just know that you're going to learn lessons at both stages. You're going to learn your greatest lessons in the valley. So don't get stuck, don't give up, just keep moving. That's what I like to tell people. Keep moving when it don't sound right, keep moving when it don't make sense, keep moving, and it will get you there. And I think a final example would be for that. If you watched any of my stories, you'll see that I was just going through a process of charter school renewal, and the first level of that renewal got a vote of no, saying that no, it wasn't going to be renewed. And it was a lot of people who felt like, well, Stacey, you gave it a good 10 years, you gave it, a good run. If they're not going to renew it, just let it go. And just, think about, I heard a lot of that. That's when I talk about that noise that's in your ear. And I had to silence that noise and step away and pull back and not get discouraged, not,
Mhm.
the natural part of you want to get depressed, because people, they see this side of Stacey in terms of being on shows, in terms of the school up and running, but what they don't see is the Stacey that's in bed at night worrying, or the Stacey that's in bed at night crying, or the
Right.
closed door that was given, or the people who left you, or said discouraging things, or talked about your name, or did all of that stuff. That stuff happens. It's like, that's those peaks and valleys, right? But if you could stay balanced and keep moving through all of that, you'll get to the other end. And because I didn't stay in that depressed state, or stay in that broken state, or stay in that state of thinking this is the end of my journey because of what one group said, 2 weeks later, or well, actually, it was 4 weeks later, the vote was overturned, and the higher up said we are going to renew for 3 more years. So that's a perfect example of resiliency and trusting in my own words of saying, keep moving, keep doing the work. If you're coming out and you're speaking, you say you want to, be a speaker, and only one person show up to your event, speak to that one person like it's a room of 100. If you write a book and only two people buy it, keep writing, keep pushing. If whatever you're doing in life, if you start out and it's just 3 or 4 people there, you do to those 3 or 4 people just like it's 1,000 people, and keep moving. And then that day is going to come where you're going to have the 1,000. So that's what I would say to anybody who has a gift or a dream or a vision that you're trying to determine if you want to birth it. Go through the labor and birth it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes to all of that. Stacy, thank you.
You are
Thank you for your
welcome.
yes, for coming on to the purpose conversation. Thank you for opening up and just sharing your heart and just sharing. Thank you so much. This has been an absolutely blessing. I cannot wait for just to. I can't wait for the school. Um, I want to attend a conference. I'm not an educator, but girl, I want to come to one of your
I'm going to
conferences.
tell you the next one. I want you to come. Thank you for having this platform and allowing, people to come up and encourage other people to do what they do. So yes,
My
the
pleasure.
thank you should go to you.
Ah, thank you. Thank you. Well, this has been real. This has been a blessing. She has given you all of the ways to contact her. I'll make sure that I go back in and put it in the show notes. And Stacy, check back in. People may have questions or different things just to kind of interact with my purpose friends, after the fact. And I apologize. You hear the dog. I guess he says, it's time to go. It's time to wrap it up.
Juba, I'm gonna tell you one other thing too.
Yes.
People can catch me as a regular, reoccurring guest on A Balanced Life with Dr.
Okay.
Jackie Hood on the Black Star Network. So you guys go and download the Black Star Network. It was created by Roland Martin, and is created for us by us. So download that app, and every Tuesday, just about every Tuesday, you can catch me up there as their educational correspondent. So you can catch me on The Balanced Life with Jacqueline Hood as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Purpose friends, Stacy, thank you, thank you, thank you all. I love you all. And check back in 2 weeks on April 30th. I'll have another amazing guest. I can tell you now, fellas, this one is going to be for you. And you want to make sure that you definitely tune in. But in the meantime and in the between time, go and have an absolutely beautiful week. And as always, I want to encourage you, to continue to seek, discover, and to pursue your purpose on purpose. You've just watched the live podcast of the Purpose Conversation. Good night, everyone.